Hey, everybody. I don't know if anybody's in the stream now, but if you are, hello. If you're watching from the future, hello. We're from the past. This is our weekly stream show, Trainwreck, where we get together and stream whatever, really. Sometimes we'll be playing RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, or like we played in the past, Atomic Highway. But this week we're going to mix it up with something different since we've been doing a lot of RPGs leading up to Tal'Dorei Day, which you might have caught on Saturday. We're actually going to be talking about that here. We're just going to be hanging out, chilling, talking about Tal'Dorei Day, Dungeons and Dragons, really whatever. We're nerds. We can talk about these things for literally ever. But I'm also going to be working on some art stuff. I'm actually going to attempt to do an illustration of one of the scenes from the Tal'Dorei Day adventure that happened on Saturday. And if you haven't seen that, that was the D&D game that I ran as part of Tal'Dorei Day to raise money for 826LA, and I was running for our Fiona, who's here with us now. Mm-hmm. But we were also running for James Hake, who co-authored the Tal'Dorei campaign guide with Matt Mercer. We were running for Gil Ramirez, Gil the Vlogsmith, and Andrew from Crit Roll Stats. So it was a really, really good game. We had a lot of fun. There were surprises to be had. But we're going to be talking about that. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out.
You really should, because those are like some of the coolest.
It was awesome.
People. Plus Fiona killed a lot of folks.
I did. I think I got every how do you want to do this except for one. It was really fun.
It was solid.
Yep. Andrew got the other one, if anyone was curious.
Mashafana was just instantly iconic, I felt.
Yep. I agree. Oh, and not to forget everyone behind the scenes with us, Tom, who is also here, was producing for us and making sure our video was, constant, except for the one time it wasn't. And Tanner was nice enough to moderate our chat for us, and he did a really good job in that.
For sure. All right, I'm just sending a tweet out from the Project Derailed Twitter.
I'm judging it as you're writing it.
Don't judge it. The people at home can't see it.
It's really tiny in the corner of our screen. Because he's sharing his screen with us.
I actually don't have your screen share up yet. I will once you switch over to doing art stuff. Right now it's just our lovely faces.
Yeah. Well, while Nick is tweeting and we don't have art things yet, what do we want to talk about to start it?
I don't know. I'm not a very talkative person overall.
Huh?
I'm not a very talkative person, really.
I am.
No.
I've never talked about anything.
Never.
Yeah.
We just need to start talking about anything Tolkien, Brian Sanderson related, or
Brandon Sanderson.
Oh.
Jesus, Nick.
Tom, why did Saruman put his giant eyeball in the top of that tower? Why?
Do I have to answer?
Well, that's actually kind of a funny story because Tom really loves Lord of the Rings. I was about to say A Tale of Two Cities because I was thinking Two Towers.
Now I imagine like the Dickensian Tolkien crossover fic.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty wild.
But I really do not, and one of those reasons was I never read the books, I only saw the movies, and Saruman and Sauron have really similar names, and they're like together a lot of the time, so I thought they were the same person, and therefore it did not make a lot of sense to me.
It would not. I want to clarify that I somewhat like Lord of the Rings. I love the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
Because I am that type of nerd.
Yeah, I think at one point I asked you to like explain Lord of the Rings to me, and you started like in the Silmarillion, like at the beginning, and then like an hour later we hadn't gotten to like Frodo yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is a lot of information.
Well, I remember in the little meme that was going around, it's like, what would be 5 movies you would have someone watch to have them understand more about you? One of the things I named was the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I keep pausing it to explain the backstory.
Yeah, I think that what you actually said was both Ace Ventura movies 2 times each. And I forget what the 5th one was. But
yeah, the actual 5th was The Force Awakens, but after it's over, I explained that it's not a ripoff, it's an homage.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And the honorable mention was Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I keep pausing it to explain the backstory.
Yeah.
But I couldn't fit that in there because I had to have both Ace Ventura movies twice each.
Yeah. I think that we have together watched each Ace Ventura movie 1 time, but not 2 times.
We'll have to fix that.
Yeah.
You don't really understand those movies until you've seen them at least twice.
I have actually seen both those movies multiple times.
Well,
because
then maybe you start to understand.
I don't think I've seen them I think I've seen Ace Ventura 2 twice in a row a couple times, but because I like...
Okay, that's a little much even for me.
Well, I do that with a lot of movies, because if I like a movie, like, I don't want to, like, leave it yet, so I'll sometimes just, like, watch it again, which is why I own a lot of movies. Like, immediately after, I'll just watch the same movie.
I did that when I was a little kid with movies. I do that with books sometimes still, but I don't really do it with movies anymore.
I do that with books and movies still. I used to drive my parents crazy because I'm sorry guys, we're not talking about the stream yet, but growing up, I used to, every time we would go to the movie store, I would rent the movie Clue and then like return it, but immediately re-rent it until the video store had to make a rule that you like couldn't do that anymore. Because I would just always have their only copy of Clue. But you'd think at that point they would like get another copy or like be happy that Clue was being rented that much. But
yeah, I mean, it's kind of the ideal scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like they're getting pretty much their maximum possible income off that movie.
Yeah, because it was being rented, and I would watch it like just about every day.
I guess the only better case would be like if you rented it for like a week, but then returned it the next day, and someone else rented it for a week.
I think that after a certain point, my parents should have just bought me that movie.
I
clearly liked it.
But then they would have to own the movie Clue, which is kind of its own punishment.
Which is a great movie.
I've never seen it. I just assume
it's really.
I've seen it before. It's really good.
No, it's really good.
Okay.
Like, it's not just like a silly movie. It's actually pretty good. Oh, Nick is doing stuff.
Oh, is Nick doing stuff? Should I switch over to where you can see him do stuff?
I think so.
All right. Hi, he's saying hi.
Hi.
I'm gonna go grab like a pop or something.
All right. As soon as we start, Tom leaves.
Yeah.
Bye, Tom.
Yep. Bye, Tom.
So, Nick, what movie did you watch repeatedly growing up? Was it our Tal'Dorei stream?
In fact, it was. You see, I had a special VCR that could reach into the Internet of the future. It was my favorite thing when I was indiscriminate in some unspecified youthful age.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up that you didn't like warn people about what was to come, though, I will say.
Yeah, it was just fun to just watch the train wreck happen. So, anyway, so I'm going to be doing art things here, and I'm going to attempt to hold a conversation while doing it. We'll see how it's going to go.
Be a disaster.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Lord of the Rings.
Not because of the conversation. Nick just sucks.
Yeah.
Can confirm. But anyway, so if you're hanging out and watching, feel free to say hi in the chat. If you have any questions for us about Tal'Dorei Day or about anything going on or our lives.
Is someone watching the chat?
I do have the chat pulled up on my TV here.
Okay.
It says we have 7 people.
Oh, hi, 7 people.
I mean, at least 2 of them are me. So,
yeah.
So anyway, let's see. I'm just gonna start kind of sketching around until something starts to form. Um,
I will say that what I did not want to push on you, but what I really wanted you to doodle or draw or whatever was James's character Varuk and I becoming best friends when we first met. That was like, if you were asking for ideas from us, that's what I wanted to suggest, because it's just something that I want.
well, I did. I did have an idea for something I was going to do, but it was going to be kind of a more larger and more ambitious piece that would take at least the entire stream, if not longer than that. So, I mean, I'm okay with taking suggestions and doing smaller little things like that. So,
yeah, I think that moment, like where we all meet and James and I become best friends, because James and I, we were not in the same room, which I guess some people thought because of how our pictures ended up getting cropped. It kind of looked like we were in the same place, but I think that we actually live like across the country from each other, and so we're not in the same place, but we did accidentally make the same character, which was fun. James made he was a former Ravager, a half-orc. I don't have his class written down on my sheet here, but
he was a fighter, an Eldritch Knight.
Okay, so he's an Eldritch Knight, and he had this like flaming sword, and he had like scars from his past and stuff. Then I made a blood hunter with scars from her past and a flaming great axe, but also I was a werelion. So
you had like one extra thing.
I had one extra
It's
thing,
really
but it was still like, yeah, but it was still like weirdly similar. And this was not, discussed between us at all. We just like kind of did it. I think I knew that he was being an Eldritch Knight, but I did not know about the flaming sword.
That was like a last minute. Well, I think that's something like that Eldritch Knights can do. But when we were talking about starting equipment, when that came up, he decided that he was going to use like his kind of upgrade his like single magic item he got by using like all of his other starting gold to like combine the two together and get a rarer magic item instead of the one uncommon.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like you got a bunch of starting gold, and then you also got an uncommon magic item. He's like, can I like forego the magic, all the extra gold, and just have one rare item? And I'm like, sure, that like sort of works out math.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something that's actually occurring to me is what we said was that we like jumped and high-fived, but if we were each holding a weapon, mine being two-handed, and
you guys like
and Farouk only having one arm, yeah, we would have just like clinked weapons, I think. So the high five does not really work out, but
yeah,
it was still a great moment.
So I'm getting like a weird like latency delay on my drawing. I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys can see that on your end, but like I make a stroke and it takes a second to actually.
Yeah, we do see it. I just assumed that was an artifact of Skype.
Yeah, that's what I was.
And it's making drawing really difficult.
Yeah, I imagine.
This is why we call it Trainwreck, because it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go veto that entire thing there. Goodbye. I'm wondering if
it's probably because of screen sharing. Maybe that's.
I don't know. It could be because of screen sharing or because I have other stuff open.
Maybe close some other stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna just.
It might be both, honestly.
It's just gonna be the Skype. If one of you guys wants to pull up Twitch on yours, like I can see the stream and I can see the chat, but I can't.
I actually have
like the numbers.
Chat here.
I can't see if like how many people we got or anybody.
Yeah.
We have someone in chat.
I see that.
I have someone in chat.
Mm-hmm.
We have 8 people.
Oh, that immediately helped as soon as I soon as I closed the browser. Yeah, that immediately helped.
Okay.
Probably because of all that RAM that Google Chrome just sort of
Firefox actually, shockingly.
Oh really? Oh man.
Yeah.
Just one Anna says hi. Hi.
Hi, just one Anna.
Hi.
And then,
Just one Anna waves at the screen.
but let's see here.
Now
So
we
yeah,
have
definitely
9
doing
people.
that moment. I feel like this is
Whoa.
going to end up being kind of like the Critical Role recap doodle style, which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
mean,
honestly,
I'm sure
if
a lot
we're
of people
doing-
have seen those. It's probably going to be cool to them to see kind of how you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a style that you
Yeah.
kind of worked on to be something you could do quickly because you know, need
Yeah.
to get those out and also
Yeah,
like
so-
work an actual job.
So
and
yeah,
stuff.
that works out. Yeah, you know, a whole
Nah.
life that actually pays me money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Give them
Gotta
angry
I mean, if
eyebrows.
anybody watching this
Darn.
wants to pay me money to do cool stuff, I mean, I'll gladly do cool stuff for money.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think that all of us will do cool stuff for money.
Not quite sure. And if anybody's wondering, when I do critical recaps, I am exactly as indecisive.
I'm trying to figure out if it's like eyes or nipples right now.
Totally.
It's eyes.
Totally nipples. So this is shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm getting kind of a Squidward vibe right now, almost.
It does look a little bit like Squidward. Make it handsome Squidward.
All right.
That's not handsome Squidward, Nicholas. Cheekbones need to be sharp enough to cut butter. Jesus.
All right. I'm gonna try this over again. So,
Bye. Bye, Squidward.
cut. I'm going to actually start with Mashafana. I was originally going to start with Waruk, but Mashafana's a fucking cool lion. So
Yay,
let's do that.
Mashafana.
By the way, for anyone who was watching the stream a couple of days ago, those little the artwork of each character and the overlay we had there, that was also Nick's work, which I thought that was super cool when I saw it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no one cares what you
that
think
was
about
that
it.
was really neat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Guys, Scanlan Short Halt for a Good Time
also
was my
good.
favorite. And I know I said that like 20 times, but I loved it. It made me really happy.
It made me happy.
But-
that apparently people enjoy my jokes. That's not
Yeah. We had a couple of people in chat ask what they all were.
Mhm.
And we had it, oh, you're drawing me in wereline form. I'm like, what? I'm like, are you drawing a dog? What on earth is that?
It's a duck.
It's a duck?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a duck.
He's got a little beak. She's a wereduck.
That.
Very
So
reminiscent
anybody in the
of
chat right now
Final.
did so just one Anna. Well, yeah. So you guys were watching on Saturday. Was anybody else in the chat watching on Saturday? I'll wait for Twitch's 20-minute delay.
The wave
Yeah.
of responses as they come in.
So, but
Were you watching, and who was your favorite, and why was it Mashafana?
Fiona, I think you're biased, but I'm not sure.
She was so cool. No, I thought everyone's characters were awesome, actually.
Yeah.
We had Tolf, who was Andrew. He was a halfling gunslinger. Margrim Lodestone, which makes me laugh because we wouldn't have known it, but his name is literally like Margrim shit. And that was Gil, who's a cleric of the Forge, and he was a dwarf and awesome. And then James, we talked about Varuk.
Well, Fiona, Lodestone is actually a thing.
No, it's just shit. That's all it is.
All it is.
It's
All right,
just
so
shit.
now I have to play the game of having to like affix tiefling ram horns to like a lion's head.
To a lion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to
so,
make it complicated.
Right. So like this is just like a kind of an interesting linguistic. No, wow, words. Talking is hard enough as is. Talking while I'm drawing.
That's
Yeah,
why
no,
I
an
asked you
interesting,
before,
like,
can you talk and draw?
An interesting, like, spatial challenge.
Logistical? Is that what
No.
you were trying to say?
Maybe?
I don't know.
I think, but
I don't know
I
what you
realized
were
that's
saying.
probably not the actual word I wanted.
I think a spatial challenge is a good way to
Spatial,
put it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just one, Anna was watching from Houston, Texas, and her
Awesome.
favorite was either Tolf or Mashafna. Both were. I love Tolf. Or Andrew rather
Yeah.
made me laugh pretty
Yeah.
hard.
So, and the other interesting thing is I did not give myself a whole lot of screen real estate for, like, references. So I'm just going to, like, truck on without, and we're going to see how things turn out. So I'm kind of
I think it
like,
looks good so far.
yeah, considering I'm not actually looking at, like, what a lion, like, actually looks like. So it's all by memory of times
There's
and watching The Lion King.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, I basically was like, Simba and Lion-O from Thundercats have the same coloring, and those are like my references for lions. So I'm like,
those are own.
She has golden skin and red hair.
So now here's an interesting question for you, Fiona. Mashafana's eyes, when she turns into a werelion, do they stay like the tiefling eyes, or do they like change into like more lion-like eyes?
Oh, well, her one eye is really messed up, so I had assumed that would change or stay the same rather.
Right. Yeah. That the image would show.
But I'm going to give you artistic license on the other eye. Yeah, tieflings are the best. I love tieflings so much.
Yeah,
I actually in this game, I decided to play Mashafana like. I was talking to you about it, Nick, and we had talked about what. Ooh, my stuff is all sliding for some reason. We had talked about what kind of character I was going to play, and I wanted to play a tiefling because I wanted horns, and I couldn't be a were-ram, Nick said. So I was like, all right, let's be a tiefling. But I wanted to play a character that was really low charisma because I thought I would be really nervous and not know what to say. But tieflings are really high charisma, so I'm like, all right, we're just gonna change those stereotypes. Low charisma tiefling.
It's really interesting to kind of like go against the grain on those like character archetypes. Like, I'm trying to think. Of
I hope that my camera is still centered.
Yeah, it's good.
It started sliding, so I had to change everything. Yeah, no, and it was a lot of fun to play her, and it did kind of work out because I was, like I imagined, really nervous. Mm-hmm. And then it gave me an excuse to, shoot. It gave me an excuse to be a little bit more reserved. I usually actually play dumb characters for similar reasons. Like, when I set out to make a character, I try to make characters that accomplish something that I want to have. So I do dumb characters when I don't want to listen, which is most games. So if they're stupid, then they can't help with plans, and then I don't have to listen to what we're supposed to be accomplishing. But or when I do want to find out a lot of information, I usually go with wizard or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I just noticed my picture is still showing up in your Skype screen, Fiona. So I'm going to cover it up with Doug.
All right.
So
this is what you guys get when you come on Monday nights.
There we go.
For Project
it even fades
Trainwreck.
in on nice. Man, that looks good. It's just kind of looking at me. Oh, I love everything about this.
Oh man.
It just came up on the stream for me, and that looks ridiculous.
Mine is buffering because
It looks really stupid.
So is that?
Ooh, I'm dying.
I just saw it. So is that going to be the thing we do now when there's something on the stream that we want to cover up? We just doge.
Just
Yeah.
dog. Yeah, why not?
So Fiona, Mashafina's two-handed. Is it a two-handed axe that she wields?
Yes, it's a +1 two-handed great axe. Is what she has.
Mm-hmm.
But it's awesome, and I didn't think at all about what I usually like have designs in mind for each of my weapons, but I do not have anything in mind really. But yeah, that line's actually looking pretty good for not having a reference or anything. There was an artistic study that I looked at a while ago from, I don't know if it was anyone really famous or anything, but it was like just like imagining like a lion in your head and then drawing it, like looking at a reference of a lion, and then after going again, like doing the lion having just looked at a reference but not like looking at it consistently, and how that changed. It was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I found I've always generally been pretty decent at recalling what things look like when if I have to draw them without a reference. I think it just comes from like a natural like I don't know if you want to say like observantness. You know, just kind of like pick up small details on things. Or that of just being, you know, dabbling in art stuff long enough that I kind of have a general understanding of, or having tried to draw one thing or another once before, you know, stuff kind of sticks.
Yeah, I also noticed that you draw animals, I think, like really well. At one point, you were drawing Dragonborn for some reason.
The Critical
for
Role
the recaps.
I think that was the episode when they were in Draconia.
When they were in Draconia.
Yeah, I know exactly what it was. It was when Scanlan used seeming to make all of them appear to be Dragonborn. And then, oops, they made themselves look like Draconians instead of the Ravenites, and then there was a whole thing. So I had to draw a scene of Vex trying to talk themselves out of that situation. And then because I didn't want to draw... Or no, it was the fight, which I probably bet most critters out there didn't realize. But the entire fight with the Frigid Doom... That was, why am I blanking on the dragon's name?
I don't know.
Vorgal? Vorgal. Yeah. So the entire fight with Vorgal, all of Vox Machina looked like Dragonborn, the whole fight. So I made the joke that I drew them all as Dragonborn in one doodle and then wrote on the doodle, okay, so now I can draw them like they look like normal, just use your imaginations.
Yeah. But I remember complimenting your Dragonborn, and you said it was because during your childhood you drew a lot of dinosaurs.
That is very true. Yeah. In the early days of my art skills was drawn like copying dinosaurs out of like children's books. That and drawing Pokemon. I drew a lot of Pokemon.
So just when Anna is asking how we envision characters before we get like a cool artist friend to draw them for you, I feel like we could also turn that on Nick and like how do you envision characters before you've drawn them. I know like for myself personally, I'm not the most visual person in general, so I have a tendency to feel out more like the patterns of the way like a character talks and thinks about things, and like sort of like the way they move, more than like any physical characteristic. Like to me, it's almost like like even when I'm like reading a book, I tend to like have very like vague ideas of what people look like, but really clear ideas of like how they behave. So I tend to focus on that first with my characters.
I actually find that I'm usually the opposite. Nick does not draw all of our characters for us, just like in our home games, because Nick is usually who we do play with D&D. But I actually have on Pinterest, I have a whole board that's just like D&D characters I want to do. And they're just like drawings or photo references or whatever. And I found that that's actually what inspires who I want to play. So like I had saved for a long time a picture of a girl who like had like almost like wolf eyes, and she had like armor, and that became actually the first blood hunter I ever played, and that was for our Curse of Strahd game, and her name was Emmeline. For Mashafina, again, I had mentioned earlier that I wanted horns, so I kind of like build a character around like how I want them to look, and then I take different things that I want to accomplish or not accomplish, which would be like listening, talking to people, that kind of thing. And I build the character that way. And usually I pick a class that just kills a lot of things because that's what I like to do. But yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like a mix of the two, because I'll come up with what I want to do. Like when I'm creating a character, I'll come up with like just the cool stuff I want my character to be able to do, or kind of like based off of like based on their abilities, or kind of like what kind of character archetype I want to fulfill. And I'll use a lot of like I'll kind of like mash up like things from popular culture, where I was playing a gunslinger pirate named Hatham Bellwether, and I like Hatham's personality I got by kind of like, all right, if hey Tom, it looks like the stream just went down on my end, or I could be wrong. It might just be my
still
app.
Up for me.
Yeah, okay, we're good. But for a second it popped back to the offline banner for a second on mine. It could have just been a glitch with my app.
Yeah,
but anyway,
like everything is still going right now for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still going for me too.
So yeah, it's probably just my app. My PS4 is chugging along.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so but yeah, I'll figure out like personality. Like with Hatham, I was like kind of taking like, I wanted kind of like a Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly, but have like a little bit of like that piratey, like Jack Sparrow-esque kind of feel to him, but not like nearly as crazy as that. So I kind of do that, and then once I have personality, then I'll translate that to a visual. And I work a lot with personality when I'm doing artwork. Like when I'm doing character art, I'll often ask like, okay, well, what's your character look like? You can give me references if you want, but tell me what your character's personality is like, because I can draw a character, but I also want to capture that character's personality. It's like, if it's just like a still mugshot, that doesn't really do it. And you can even tell from the art I did for each of the characters for the Tal'Dorei Day game, where especially like I think Tolf kind of like brings it through the most.
Yeah,
Andrew is like, he's a character,
Tolf's
he's on the run. He found a gun, and so he's on the run from the Whitestone Riflemen and Percy, and he was a member of the class, but he defected, and he was involved with an altercation with the classmate after him too, and he's just like really paranoid, really shifty, and everybody's out to get him. So I really wanted to capture that in his portrait. So like he has that like looking like wide-eyed like paranoid expression, and he's looking over his shoulder. So I kind of like play with those ideas. And Andrew even gave me like, he wanted like the navy blue hood and all that stuff. Okay. So
I'm gonna actually try and pull up that art right now.
Yeah, go for it. It's all on the Project Derailed Twitter.
I have it on my computer. I just need to pull it in.
Okay.
Just one, Anna. I am really very terrible at playing support, so I have a lot of respect for people who can play support. Mm-hmm. If my Overwatch playing is any indication, I just don't understand it. I'm like, why do I need to, help others when I can just like go in with no regard for what anyone else is doing?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I primarily play Junkrat.
Yeah, one of my finest moments was when I got a team kill with D.Va. No big deal.
That was pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful.
If anybody here was watching the Atomic Highway game that we did a couple Mondays ago, or if not, you can go back and watch it on our VODs or on YouTube. We were playing Atomic Highway, which was kind of like a Mad Max style apocalyptic RPG. Tanner, who was moderating in the chat on Saturday, he was running that for us, and my character was very much inspired by Junkrat from Overwatch.
Yeah.
By the way, I pulled up on the stream the pictures you did for Tal'Dorei Day.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Just so everyone can appreciate them briefly. It's really boring to me because it's really just those pictures.
Yeah, it just came up for me.
I mean, they can still hear us, right?
Yeah, they can still hear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson.
We have another question from chat. Do you typically play characters that have some aspects of yourself, or do you go for radically not you types? I'm big on into the RP side of RPGs, and characters really fascinate me.
I think I started out. I think everybody starts out with doing characters that are similar to themselves. But
I did not.
I think people start off one of two ways. Either they kind of play themselves in a fantasy setting, or they play someone ridiculous.
Like, I think my first character, Garrick. Do you remember Garrick, Fiona?
Garrick. Whose character?
My character. My very first character when we were playing 3.5.
Oh.
And I ever played. Garrick the Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember you being really unhappy with Garrick.
I liked Garrick, but he ended up being,
you weren't happy with the Ranger class. It was like not what you expected.
No, it wasn't at all. And the people we were playing with didn't explain like hardly anything to us. So like, but yeah, no, I enjoyed playing Garrick, but like it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to play like I wanted to like now in 5e and knowing what I know now. I wanted to play a ranged fighter is what I wanted to play.
That's fair. What I found that's interesting for me is that I actually have a little bit of trouble sometimes coming up with really like interesting creative characters on my own. I actually find that some of my strongest roleplay has come out of pre-gen characters that I'm just handed like at a con or something for a game, where it's like the sort of core outline is there, but then I can kind of give my own spin on it. But I'm not always the greatest at coming up with like a really interesting character just kind of from scratch. Although I'm getting better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is I just haven't played nearly as much as I've GM'd. And playing is definitely its own very separate skill, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, especially as of late. And it's I enjoy DMing far more than I enjoy playing, but I do love playing when I do get the opportunity. Like I don't play nearly as much as I DM, but that's like by choice, you know.
Yeah.
But the characters when I do get a chance to play, I like playing kind of interesting out of the box characters, like the Artificer I'm playing in your game, Tom. Jorgen Leadbeard. He's a dwarven artificer. Really excited to explore him because he's very, very antisocial.
This is Nick's passive-aggressive way of telling me to get off my ass and run the game again.
Yeah.
What was passive about that, Tom? But yeah, no. But I enjoyed that character as almost a role-playing challenge because I'm playing a character that's very antisocial, not all that interested in conversing with people, which is also difficult when like trying to like coordinate with the party and stuff.
Yeah.
Which has been interesting. It's been interesting to play, but I'm next level. He gets his mechanical servant, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty neat.
Oh, were you gonna still say stuff?
No. I don't want to
okay.
talk to Fiona.
What?
I don't want to talk to you, Fiona.
God, I hate you so much. I tend to go with characters who have like aspects of my personality, I guess, or that I feel comfortable role playing most of the time. I know I was looking at it; it's really big, but I think that I come through in a lot of my characters personally, I think that it's inevitable for me at some point because I tend to be like a fairly like aggressive person, I guess. So I tend to play these really tanky characters, but my characters also differ from me in pretty significant ways. Like I think that if I were like a D&D character, I'd be like a wizard or, you know, someone like that. And I tend to usually play like fighters and barbarians. But yeah, to go off of the point that just came up also in the chat with writing backstory, I actually write a lot of backstory for my characters, and I think that that's just kind of like one of the consequences of being a writer, is like for Emmeline, the character I talked about earlier, my other blood hunter, I sent Nick 10 pages of backstory, which I don't know if he appreciated or not. It was a lot. I know that some DMs have told me that I need to like cut it down quite a lot, and I'm like, all right, like 7 pages, right? No. And but I just do what I'm going to do. But within those backstories, I actually don't talk a lot about my character's personality. Like I usually go in with an idea of what their personality is like, and then as they react to situations, I build upon it. But I'll just have a very vague idea. Like in my head, Mashafna was very reserved, which during the stream kind of turned into her being like lawful nice, basically, because I had gone in like kind of expecting, and they even said it at the beginning that some of the characters were really thrown by me being a werelion and a tiefling, and so I'm like, okay, so she's just not going to talk a lot. But then like as they did interact with her more, I'm like, all right, she's just going to be like really nice and be like, please be my friend, because
I don't have
so just yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends. Please be my friend. But that was actually really a deviation in role playing for me, because I tend to play really mean characters because I'm like kind of good at it. So like as people were doing stuff, I had like the urge to say something mean, but I'm like, oh man, that's not what she would do. So she was a deviation.
I have a tendency sometimes to play smart ass characters just because I as a person tend to have plenty of smart ass comments to make. And playing a smart ass character lets me get it out there. For backstories,
with me mean characters.
I know for backstories, what I kind of like to do is like not flesh it out, but have like I usually have like in mind like a few like sort of scenes almost from my character's life that are formative in some way that I can kind of draw upon and like shaping kind of like their value system, what they care about, that kind of thing. Sort of like moments or like interactions, but I kind of have them almost as like unconnected, just like this thing happened, but I don't really lay out for myself exactly what happened like in between or how they got from A to B. I kind of like leave that open and let that kind of develop as I play.
I do something a little bit similar where I usually like to do diary entries for my characters.
A lot of people like
instead of like a traditional backstory, I'll do like a diary, and that way I can kind of like skip around like, oh, they're not like journaling much during this time, and there'll be like a basic story. But the other benefit I like about that is it lets them be kind of like an unreliable narrator, and I know that Nick has used that in games where like Emmeline thinks that something is a certain way, or that like, you know, people are reacting to her in a particular way, but that like as the game, you know, comes out, then things may be entirely different. And also does help me get a better sense of the character like before I start playing, like where is their mind when, you know, when these things are happening, like when they're battling, especially if they're not a new adventurer.
Yeah, and from a DM standpoint, like I joke about Fiona's long ass backstories, but I love it. Like as if you're a DM, like a lengthy backstory from a player is a gift. That gives you so much ammunition to use in future stuff. That's like nothing gets your a player at your table more engaged than pulling something out of their backstory and throwing it in their face when they least expect it. That's like, and or taking something and turning it on its head. Like, and I know Matt Mercer does that a lot. If you look at it, like Terry Terry's story is a great example of that, especially because that was such like a short arc in compared to the greater Critical Role. And Sam even said, like, you know, Matt took Sam's backstory for Terry and completely turned it on its head, which I love doing. Like with Emmeline in our Curse of Strahd campaign, she was looking for her, I guess boyfriend.
No, she wasn't looking for him. He contacted her, right. and then we got transported to Barovia very shortly after.
Yeah, so he was.
But then she heard. Yeah.
So she had heard that he was captured by being a werewolf, a blood hunter herself. She heard that he was captured by werewolves, and when she went to go save him, she saw what she thought was him. But turns out it was actually the pack leader, and he had, after getting turned into a werewolf himself, become the new pack leader. Which it's taking the player expectation and turning it around. It's such a well, I'm not going to say it's a simple trick, but it's such an easy way to get really cool reactions and stuff. So it's like, and that's stuff you could only do when you provide a backstory.
Yeah. I do think that as a GM you have to be a little careful about that, because you don't want to do it in a way that like disrespects like the themes of the character.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like it should feel right.
Yeah. Like I've seen that kind of thing a little bit before, where it's like the backstory is like brought in a way that wasn't like really respecting the story the player was trying to do. And that is bad.
I think that in that particular instance, by changing it, it respected the backstory in a really significant way, especially because, like, again, trying to make Emmeline this, like, unreliable narrator, you could pick out that this guy was, like, just a dick. Like, I hated him, but Emmeline was very much in love with him. And so it was... He basically took it and like it took what was already there and turned it up to 11, and it made Emmeline see this like part of her past in a way that she like couldn't deny anymore, which led to a bunch of really interesting role playing moments, I thought.
That's really cool.
And and to the point in the chat with not really knowing the world, like, you know, when creating your backstory, I think even in the backstory that I set Nick, I put like for the stream, I put something like and then she went to, and then all caps, city, where she found person. So like sometimes stuff like that can work, and I don't know, I don't know geography really well in games most of the time, and I don't really care about half the time, but I think that understanding the setting rather than specific places and things is pretty important. Like knowing the difference between like a very medieval setting versus like a really Mad Max setting like we played a couple weeks ago.
Or even like within the normal sort of D&D milieu, like there's a difference between like a sort of more like an Iron Age almost like type D&D, which you can definitely do, versus like an almost like early modern D&D. Like they can be very different.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, like the other thing is that like from a DM, like what I usually tell my players is make it up. If you're from some small town, tell me what the name of that town is. Most settings that you're playing in have enough holes in them where you can drop a player created location into the map and it changes nothing about the politics or geography. I encourage that, because if it's a town that the player created, they're as invested in it as a player as their character is, because it's their home.
Yeah.
And then when you use it, or when that character runs into an NPC that is from that place, that almost like helps solidify that player's, you know, addition to the world.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it's like it's pretty a safe bet as well, because it's like almost all like D&D fantasies type settings have a lot of core things in common that you have a pretty good idea of what it's like if you just understand the basics of what Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, that's the power of like a really strong genre, is that it helps. Like, something that's interesting to me is that like almost every RPG out there like really embraces a genre in a heavy way. I don't think that's an accident. I think that like it's really hard to have an RPG without like the backings of a really strong set of genre tropes that everyone kind of understands.
Right. Matt Colville calls it Fantasyland. And even starting in the way back beginnings of D&D, Fantasyland is that same generic fantasy setting that everybody's stories take place in.
Yeah. But I think with like you see like people spread out, like RPGs have gone into many different places, but you don't see many RPGs that are like trying to emulate, you know, like literary, like traditional literary fiction,
right?
In a sense, like it's like they embrace like the tropes of a genre, oftentimes more than actual work in that genre might. Like I don't know of any fantasy literature that really leans into like the heavily derivative fantasy tropes the way D&D does. But like for an RPG it really works because it provides that shared basis.
Yeah. But then it also like the D&D like also differentiates from the typical like fantasy, medieval fantasy in its own ways as well. And that's simply because it's populated by player characters who are influenced by the modern world and all of this stuff. So like even though you don't typically see things like a whole lot of maybe a certain technology, because it's like kind of a staple of a lot of fantasy or a lot of other fantasy, or even a lot of like art things, like it's easy to shoehorn in an equivalent, I guess. Or even like in Matt Mercer in creating Tal'Dorei, he intentionally made it a lot more of an inclusive setting than even a lot of real world places. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, well I think D&D has for a while now tended to be, you know, wildly more open to women than any real world medieval society really.
Right, that's probably the most drastic example, but
which good for it, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like, a good thing.
I don't particularly want to play a game where it's like, okay, well, women can play, but you're going to be told to get back at the hearth all the time. Like,
or even like, what was it? Was it AD&D that female characters had like different penalties and stats for being female?
Maybe.
I think
something like that.
Yeah.
Which is like, shoot, why can't I keep this thing up? Which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, so like, and even with like Wizards of the Coast, there was actually a very good article about Wizards of the Coast talking about being more inclusive to, or more representative of the LGBT recently, and they actually said that there's I think in almost every adventure they put out there was an NPC in one form or another that was representative of that community, which is actually really interesting. Really
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy Crawford, who works for Wizards of the Coast and on Dungeons and Dragons, is gay.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, while D&D is definitely that medieval fantasy, like it does kind of establish itself as its own genre.
Yeah.
Even separate than that.
Yeah. And that's a really important thing. I actually wrote for Project Derailed. It was a post called Sorry, I'm an Asshole. But in it does kind of talk about that, particularly in respect to Mercer. And this was a paper I had written about how they use swearing on Critical Role. And what I found was that Matt is the one who apologizes the most out of everyone. And I think that, I think that Ashley would probably be a little bit more up there in apologies if she was on the show more. But that's really interesting, especially for a man who is like more or less in power on the show. To be apologizing constantly, and it's almost like become its own thing. Like Mercer's created kind of like this feminist world, but within that, you have him doing some things that are not just like feminist in regards to women, but like free of the patriarchy, both in and out of character, where he's like apologizing more, which is not typically a masculine linguistic trait, but and I might be reading into a lot of what like Mercer maybe does outside the stream, but we can see that in a lot of regards, just like on Critical Role in the world that he's created. Like he's very much gone out of his way to create an inclusive environment, and that's kind of what you have to do in those situations to, you can't always depend on it to just like happen. Like you have to really like be conscious of it.
Right. And that was actually a fascinating read that Fiona put together. So if you have the opportunity, definitely go check that out at projectderailed.com. One of the most fascinating things about it was that Matt Mercer's apologies spiked when Vox Machina was getting the shit kicked out of them. Like when things were going very poorly for the adventuring party, Matt as the DM apologized way more. But that makes sense. If you know Matt, or if like you've watched Critical Role long enough, or gotten the opportunity to actually meet Matt, he's an incredibly nice person.
So nice.
So I think he's just like naturally adverse to like doing things that people don't like.
I tend to be a real softie as a GM, like just a total like, marshmallow.
Well, see, the thing is, Matt doesn't go easy by me.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. And it'll sometimes be like, a very like, sorry, like, but
it's like, oh
the
yeah,
fact that
that
he's
spell
doing
actually
it is interesting.
He's like, yeah, so you lost concentration on that spell. Sorry,
What I also found very interesting is that Travis got the most apologies on only one episode, and that episode was spoiler alert for people who aren't totally caught up on Critical Role, but it was after the Raishan fight, I believe, when Scanlan decided to leave. And almost no one apologized during that episode, which is crazy because you have this character being like, I am so unhappy that I'm just like abandoning this. And Travis had the most apologies with 6 apologies. And for reference, the apologies are usually around like 20 or so an episode, but Travis had 6. And like, and it was the only time a character had, walked off the show. And obviously it wasn't Sam, it was, his character Scanlan. But I think it was 3 of those apologies were in character, and 2 of them were like not sincere at all. It was like, I think it was at one point he had like, it's like someone was sitting down and he like pulled the chair out from them. He's like, oh, sorry, I don't know what happened. And the other time he had done something similar, but he was the only one, I think, during that discussion who had said, I'm sorry to Scanlan. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't know your mother's name.
Right.
Because that was a big point of contention. And I think he was the only one who apologized for that.
Yeah.
And Tom wrote the program that helped me go through those transcripts.
I did.
So also shout out. Yeah.
Shout out to transcripts and
Oh yeah. They're caught up now, I think. They're totally
nice.
caught up with it.
Are they? That's awesome.
But yeah, that's what we did with it, is that we pulled the transcripts off Crit Roll transcripts, and then I wrote a little application just to search through for different words to help Fiona track down all those usages. Yeah,
we looked at swearing and apology, and Laura, surprising no one, is the most likely to swear.
Yeah, no one saw that.
Laura has a potty mouth, but
that's why she's on the featured image of that blog post.
Yeah, I think she's saying like shit ass mother.
I like how Mashafina looks like really intense, and Varuk is just like, hi.
He's excited.
He's really excited.
And actually, there's a lot of like sketchy marks gone here, but I wasn't going for an intense look.
Okay. I think it's just as hard not to look intense as a lion.
That's true.
Yeah.
However, it does look like Varuk is going to be stabbing her in the face, so let me adjust
So
the angle of this sword.
Farouk may need to move a little. There you go.
It's a little big, so we'll bring it down. Power of technology.
Yeah.
So I was just having a conversation with somebody about how I stand by the fact that having the digital Wacom tablet and pen is not cheating at art. It's not a cheat code.
No.
Control Z is the cheat code.
Control Z is the cheat code.
People like to think like newer stuff or doing things differently is cheat codes when it's not necessarily. There's actually an interesting study, not about art, but about audiobooks, where people, the perception of audiobooks is it's somehow like cheating at reading, when actually your brain is going through like the same amount of processing power versus like if you were actually reading the books. And then it's also, I think it's also like kind of ableist to like see it that way, for using audiobooks versus like, physical books or using like tablets and stuff for art. And these things exist for a number of reasons, and it's to make it, easier for, whatever reason. And in doing that, usually make things also more accessible. So I didn't expect us to get into this kind of stuff, like on this art stream. Talked about
I had no
feminism,
expectations.
Yeah.
No
I didn't really either, but
anything.
Yeah,
we have a question.
That's what this stream is for.
How long have you guys been in Ravenloft? My first D&D game ever was a 2e Ravenloft game.
Wow.
In-game or out of game? Because we've been playing Curse of Strahd for over a year now.
Yeah. It's supposed to be, and this is not because we've like been skipping a bunch of sessions, it's because we're taking a really long time with it. But we're actually not even at Ravenloft yet. We're at the Amber Temple currently. And we're talking about going to Ravenloft.
In-game, they've been in Barovia for, I think it's almost been 3 weeks.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we've been playing for almost a year, and that was almost every week. For over a year, and that's just because, man, and I've heard great things about the 2e Ravenloft, the original Ravenloft adventure, but the Curse of Strahd, man, Chris Perkins, he knows how to make an immersive setting, and it's just such a juicy like setting that. As a DM, I couldn't help but to sink my teeth into it and embellish. And then the cool thing is like almost all the players gave me like really cool backstories that I incorporated into. I explained it away by there's something about the natural essence of Ravenloft, about Barovia, the demi-plane of dread that has a way of ensnaring the threads of fate of powerful powerful individuals, which is kind of the reason why, despite having all these different backstories, everybody's kind of finding pieces of their past, whether it be people they knew or things they did or other things in Barovia. So we took a lot of time with those. I added an entire dungeon beneath Yester Hill that was kind of explained away the origins of the Mother Knight, and tied into the Blood Hunters and the Order of the Lycan for Fiona's backstory. So,
yeah.
but we have an incredibly roleplay heavy group, which is really cool because we take a lot of time. There's been sessions where we didn't really go anywhere. It's just you guys talking and exploring and talking to NPCs, which was really, really cool. I love that as a DM. But it's an amazing setting. It's by far my favorite adventure I've ever ran.
Yeah, I can't speak to 2e Ravenloft. I never played 2e, but we haven't been to Ravenloft yet. But Curse of Strahd is a really fun adventure, and I very highly recommend it. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Tom isn't in that game.
No, I'm not cool enough to be in that game.
No, you
it's because he lives
live
far
a
away
city
from
away.
us.
Yeah.
More than a city.
As we're on the internet, with just one Anna being from Houston, Texas, I don't think we can say that Tom being an hour away from us is very far away. I don't think we have that.
No, that's true. You'll only be an ocean away.
Hamilton reference, take a shot.
I only have water, so I'll drink some of that.
So, yeah, I was actually really, really happy with the group, and it's funny because when I said we were gonna do like the improv like intros for the characters to kind of like piece together how everybody met, I wasn't expecting like to go into like actual role play of those moments, but I'm so glad we did, because especially the one I'm drawing right here, it was a lot of fun. And that was just something you guys did, and I'm down for this.
Yeah, I don't know if they like misunderstood what you were asking, or just like it snowballed somehow. I was gonna
do like prompts
we
where
just
it's like, well,
through it.
Mashafana, tell me one thing about like when, like what was one thing that like Baruch did that kind of pissed you off during an adventure or something.
Yeah,
I was gonna do a bunch of those, but then you guys just like started going into stuff, and I'm like, this is great. I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah, because we were supposed to be like established, but then we ended up like establishing on the stream and then like jumping to 2 days later. But then I felt like kind of dumb doing it because I thought that we were like done with that really long role playing thing, and then you're like, oh well, how did you meet Margrim and Varuk? And I think I said, oh, it was just like a thief or something. Like I didn't really go into it, and they're like, what were they stealing? What were they doing? And stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't set this up right. And then I think we were just like outside of a tavern, like, yeah, let's like turn into, a were-lion, whatever.
Yeah, he's just like in the middle of nowhere, and then and I love Andrew. He was just like, and then Andrew just like walks in on this. Just the timing on that was beautiful.
Yeah, no, it was great. Andrew was hilarious. Everyone was hilarious. I loved all these characters.
Me too.
They're really good.
I enjoyed the moment where it was like, I was standing out back, but then I walked in because I was bored.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, I wonder how long. Then he like walks in and he's like, what'd you guys find? We're like, nothing. We just got here. I will be right back. Put it on that post-it note.
So Tom and I can talk about Fiona behind her back.
It's a good thing we still have Doug there to keep the action going in that part of the screen.
Right.
Good.
I'll just expand Doug to the whole thing.
Yes.
Doug! Nothing but Doug.
So here's a interesting point of order. Is it Doug or is it Doge?
I've always preferred Doug because Doge just doesn't sound right. It's Doug. Because I always imagine it like the way a dog would say dog. If that makes sense.
Sure. Why not? Oh God! It was the whole screen for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like this train doesn't stop.
Wow.
No, but like Doge doesn't sound like dog, you know what I mean? It's like, I am Doge.
Yeah, I guess.
It's kind of like in the sort of bork sort of thing.
Are we going to break into an in-depth analysis of internet memes? Is that what Trainwreck is about now? I mean, technically Trainwreck was already about that because Trainwreck is about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
So, how am I looking at on the whole here? Yeah, I kind of like that. I have to adjust Fork's eye-line here. Because he's slightly taller than Mashafana. Even though she's kind of hunched over. Although, no, the Blood Hunter lichens function a little differently. Because if she was an actual werelion, she would actually grow to a large size when she transforms, because that's how big lions are.
But the Blood Hunter doesn't do that.
No, Blood Hunter works. It's a whole completely different set of stats.
Yeah.
Like, because instead of because regular Lycans have resistance or immunity to all damage except from magic and silver damage. Whereas the Blood Hunter, realizing that that's probably way too powerful for a class feature, the Blood Hunter simply has vulnerability to silver.
Okay, that makes it interesting.
Yeah, although it makes silver weapons broke.
Like against them, yeah.
Against,
I feel like the Blood Hunter is one of those that you have to have the right group to use it. Because it seems like a lot of the Blood Hunter is like coupling like ridiculous strengths with really obnoxious weaknesses.
Yeah.
Well, the silver, I actually decided against giving. Or no, I didn't. For the final battle with Jalid, he did have a silvered sword, which wrecked your shit. Because
yeah.
Because Blood Hunter, Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter. Well, the regular Blood Hunter is different, but the Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter specifically.
Yeah, there's mutant like ghost or something.
Which he was a ghost, which was hilarious because he was a ghost Blood Hunter himself. But then he got regular lycanthropy on top of that, so he was a ghost werewolf, and it was just as ridiculous as it sounds.
Well, that was Emmeline's backstory, that she wanted to be Order of the Ghost Slayer, but then she ended up getting infected and kind of incidentally became a lycanthropy Order of the Lycan. Yeah.
Okay. It was a decision of convenience at that point. No one was around to cast remove curse. So
they had to go with the hybrid form, essentially. Or else she would just be a werewolf. And then she killed her friend. It sucked.
Oops.
Yeah. He was great. He didn't like Jalid, even though he was Jalid's friend first.
Fiona, you missed me expanding Doge to fill the whole screen.
Thank you for that.
I was gonna just fill your box, but then I'm like, this train doesn't stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is called Trainwreck for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So I think I'm pretty good with the sketch here.
Oh, I love it so much.
I actually have another picture I'm gonna pull up because I don't know why. Really? Where did I put it?
Does one even really need an excuse to pull up pictures?
That's fair.
Some scars acting going on here.
Does he have a nose?
He does not, because it is the it's like a slightly more detailed version of my recap doodle style. Animals have noses though, because they'd be super weird if they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Just keep looking at Doug.
I'm gonna blow this up a little bit. This is an attempt from a kind of aborted game idea I had, where it'd be like a 3D space shooter, but your ship would look like this. I can put it over me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, keep covering me up.
We don't want to look at you, Fiona.
Good.
So,
I don't want
this
to
is my
at.
Doge space shooter, but your ship is just Doge tiled.
Oh, I didn't even notice it was Doge. I thought it was like shadows and stuff.
No, it's Doge.
Nope.
It's just Doge over and over again. So, you're welcome for that.
Thank you. Tom makes some weird games.
Yeah.
I still want to do like a live stream game jam. Like, I'm all about that idea.
Yes.
So if anybody watching wants to watch me and Tom live stream for a ridiculous amount of time, just making a video game from scratch, that's something that we're throwing around doing.
Yeah,
I think ridiculous amount of time. What, 24 hours or longer? Like a full game jam?
Yeah, we can. I think we should do the full game jam. Just keep the stream going.
Yeah.
For people who might be watching who wouldn't know, a game jam is usually But like you create like a video game prototype in a short period of time. A common length would be like a weekend. Like what we've done in the past is it would be like start like Friday night, finish like Sunday afternoon, with like a few hours of sleep here or there.
Or not.
I think last time, well, we've usually done it in like an art museum where it's like there's like a cold concrete floor, and we'll just like bring a sleeping bag or something. So like about 20 minutes is the most you can expect.
Right. But yeah, so Tom does programming stuff and I do art stuff. So he makes the video game work and I make it look pretty. It's a pretty good
solid.
division of labor.
It is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We tend to have like weirdly complementing skills at Project Derailed, which is why we started
Project
it.
Derailed exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if we got
Because we
us all in a room to
realized
do
that
something, we could
we
do
had
stuff.
well, originally we had started it to make board games, and then we found out that was really hard and we didn't want to do it, so we just started writing stuff. But we do have a board game that exists. I don't know if you can like find it anywhere, but it does exist. It's called Vigilance, and it was pretty fun, but like weirdly complicated. But once you like understood how the rounds worked, it went pretty fast. But it was just that initial like, how do I play this?
Games, though, like
That's true. Yeah.
it's always going to be complicated to explain how it works.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it still had like we never really ironed out like making the gameplay really like flow the way we wanted.
Yeah.
Because it was like the sort of competitive cooperative thing. I don't think we ever quite struck the right balance with that. And then we just kind of stopped trying.
Well, what it was is we created the website to do like blog posts and stuff while we were working on things, and then we're like, hey, we actually really like making content for the internet a lot more than we actually make like making the game. So
like making games. Yeah, and that's how Project Derailed was born. Then we brought on Tanner, who does Critter Miss and random blog posts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and also TannerReviews.com.
He was doing his podcast, Nerdiest Talk Show on Earth, which is like on hiatus or canceled or something. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what actually did happen to Mashafina's eye? If that was explained, I missed it.
Well, she has these acid burns.
Yeah, that was from Umbercell, which is what was made. That's what made it really personal for her. Was
Gotcha.
she has like various battle scars and stuff, but what messed up her face and her horns and stuff was that battle with Umbercell, where her last party all died except for her.
Okay.
Yeah, because you guys would have been only like level 3 when that happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and an ancient black dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
It was basically just like raising the town with like the rest of the
So I didn't have them like fighting the dragon. I had them like trying to help get people out, and in that process,
they died.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
because Vox Machina was who killed Umbercell.
Yeah.
But just during that time, and originally I think that we had it as Thordak, and then we realized that tieflings have fire resistance, and that wouldn't work as well, so we decided to change it to Umbercell, who has acid.
I'm also not going to lie. I was very discreetly prodding in that direction anyway. Because
as soon as it happened, I kind of figured that you were. I was like, okay, so this is, but
I had ulterior
I was
motive.
really glad that she got the "How do you want to do this?"
Yeah.
And I don't even think that getting that many was a lot of that was lucky timing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a lot of it was your massive spike damage.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I got, I
interestingly,
think 3 natural 20s on Umbercell.
The process of creating the stat block for the skeletal dragon was also was a lot of fun, because it started out like I wanted them to fight it, but I already decided it was going to be a level 5 adventure. So it was like, how do I take the skeleton of what was an ancient black dragon and then make it something that wouldn't instantly TPK, but still like be pretty formidable? So turning everything down and like, you know, still giving it enough of like the skeleton properties that it made sense was an interesting process. Oh, and it, like acknowledging the fact that Vox Machina eluded its teeth and claws, so its bite and claw text did bludgeoning damage, and like, but then I added like, you know, narratively, the cultist needs to be there, so that's a CR7 caster in the room, so it was a lot of tweaking to bring it down. So
I remember you showed me the first dragon stat block you came up with. I'm like, that will TPK them. I'm like, that will TPK them with his breath weapon in one shot.
Which, interestingly, he didn't get to use his breath weapon.
That is interesting.
In the stream. Well, what happened was I decided that it would not be pre-charged.
Okay.
At the start of the match.
That doesn't
like
make
since it got resurrected. He just got resurrected. I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting that he doesn't have his breath weapon charged beginning of the combat.
Yeah.
And then it never came up. I rolled shitty the whole time.
That fight could have gone different depending on. Do you still have a big old number for that breath weapon?
It was. I think it was like in the high 30s.
Yeah.
For average, which is what I was using the whole match anyway. I was using the average damages just for time.
I usually do the same.
But it was like, it was in like the high 30s on a failure, and then it would been in like the high teens.
Yeah. Or
high teens, low 20s for a success. So, I mean, it was pretty beefy, but it wasn't a whole lot beefier than the cultist's Circle of Death at the end there. But if he had been able to use it more than once, it would have been a combat changer. The other thing was I was intentionally not playing the caster as intelligently as I normally would, because he was kind of a novice with the powers that he had just received and gained. And he was also a little bit distraught and kind of crazy, so he wasn't thinking as tactically as he otherwise would have anyway.
Can I bring up a failure of yours during the stream, Nick?
I hashtag I know. But yeah, go ahead.
It was that when the fear effect happened on Mashafana, and then I like never got a save against it.
I totally forgot about it.
Because that's why I kept asking you, because I thought that like it would make sense that I like would get a save or something at the end of each round.
Well, see, what's interesting is like you were asking, like, am I still afraid of them? And I mean, the effect was still happening, so my answer was yes. But what would have been really funny is, and it's still my fault for not forgetting, but hey, if you had said, do I get a save? I would have gone, oh, yeah, you totally do.
That's what I was like trying to say. I didn't want to be like, because I thought that I got a save each round.
Yeah,
but like I didn't want to be like, Nick, give me a save.
At the end of your turn.
So I was like, I think I was trying to be like a little bit nicer about it.
Yeah.
No, but what I was going to say was I kind of actually like that happened, because I was just because I have a pretty high wisdom save, and I think it was just when it happened, I just happened to roll kind of crappy. But I actually really liked that it ended up happening because James got that really great moment where he like convinced him that it wasn't worth it. So I was like sitting there like, I'm like, do I want to like look this up and be like, Nick, you're doing it wrong? Because I didn't want to do that. But I was like, I'm pretty sure something should happen. Then that moment happened. And I'm like, okay, well, good. Because I would have just like murdered his face, and that wouldn't have been as compelling.
Right.
But,
yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, for future note though, like by all means, look shit up and tell me when I'm wrong, because I can't.
Yeah,
it's impossible for me to keep every rule in my brain. It just doesn't happen. Matt Mercer can't do it, neither can I.
I didn't want to like call you out.
It's not calling me out.
That's our standard.
It's not calling me out. If you think I'm fucking up, let me know, and I'll try and fix
Standard
it.
is Matt Mercer. I was like trying to imply it, and I think that was like the problem, that I kept trying to imply like I think I get a save without actually saying it, which is not usually my MO, but I didn't want to like be actively mean to you during our biggest stream thus far.
I don't know. That's just good entertainment.
Yeah.
Just go
I wanted to
make
myself look good more than I wanted to make Nick look bad.
Oh, that is unusual for
which
you.
Which is a rare impulse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 1 second.
That was a good.
Okay.
I thought to add this.
But no, it was a great moment, so it just like kind of worked. And
oh yeah,
it wasn't in chat, which we weren't paying attention to at the time. People being like, "I think she gets a save," but I didn't have it up, and I don't think that you did either.
I did, but I didn't. I wasn't able to actually pay attention to it.
Yeah, but I think that was my favorite non-PC interaction moment of the stream was that one. Man, James blew it out of the water with his role playing. I mean, everyone did. So everyone was really good, but
Gil.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gil was awesome. Andrew was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hell. Gil was committed to that beard.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Fun fact: I could not see James nor Gil during the stream because my Skype had frozen. So they were just like Gil was he was leaned in really close to his webcam, and his brow was furrowed, and James was just sitting there and looking straight into the camera, just looking really pissed off. And then at one point Andrew also froze, but he froze as he was getting something else, so I only saw his shoulder. It was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And you don't notice until that happens that James and Gil sound very similar to each other. So it'd be I go upstairs, I'm I'm going upstairs with one of them, not sure who it is, but their in-character voices were very different.
Yeah.
So I could usually figure it
out. Yeah, so we got anybody still hanging out, watching, listening to our ramblings?
It's 5 people.
5 people.
You still have people
couple of them
watching. Chat hasn't been active in a little bit.
Well, if you got questions for us or anything you want,
one of them's definitely me.
Well, one of them's me too.
Yeah, so I think that we have 2 people.
One or 2 people. So yeah, but if anybody has any questions or anything that you guys want to hear us talk about or ramble on about or whatever, really, by all means, throw it out in the chat or at least just say hi.
Yeah, if not, I'll just keep talking about bullshit.
Entertaining ourselves like we usually do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We love to talk, so we can talk forever about stuff. That's I think that's the other reason why we tend to work well together, is because we all recognize that everyone loves to talk. So then we all kind of just are okay with interrupting and stuff.
No, fuck you. You've talked about this long enough. Let me say the thing I want to say.
Yeah, we know that any meanness is out of is only a little bit out of malice, and
only a little bit out of malice. Yes, that is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm almost done with the lines here on the Shafana.
Oh, it's because she has lion legs. I'm why are her legs bent like that? I see why. I don't at the bottom, where her calf is, it goes in and then out. I didn't know if you were drawing
well, it's her ankle would be down here.
Right. So it's that bony bit. Okay.
Probably just a weird line.
All right. I didn't know. I thought that you were making it go back out
it's
again.
Her calf. It's her calf at a slightly.
Well, it also looks like the pants kind of cinched just under the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's
But
full.
then the part that would
like
be straight in the
there's
cap.
flaps on the boots because that's like one of the 4 ways I know how to draw fantasy boots.
Gotcha.
So
I see. There's like boots. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I got there.
Oh.
So like the
I didn't
parody kind of.
realize they were boots either.
So like the knee is here.
Gotcha.
Knee is here. Ankle would.
No,
be
I knew that the knee was there. I thought they were just like drawing her like with no pants on her calves, like drawing her wearing some capris or something.
Oh no.
Okay, that makes sense. I see it now. I wasn't sure before. Well, man, Shafna looks so good. I love it.
Well, it's really cool drawing her in a lion form because I hadn't done that yet.
Yeah, that was something that we'd like talked about would be nice if we had enough time. But Mashafna did not get a lion form avatar.
Well, then we would have had to deal with, which I don't think it would have been that hard, Tom. It would have been the exact same overlay, but with the lion form. And
that wouldn't have been hard. I would have just duplicated the scene and then just dropped in the different image.
That's what I figured you would do.
It wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about it. I just didn't have time to do it. I actually barely had time. I did the tabletop that had all the scrawlings on it, which was probably what I spent my most time on. And then I realized I still needed a token for Umbrasyl and for Alden at the end. And I'm like, fuck. And then I did that real fast. And then that's why I ran the whole adventure without a cohesive outline, with mostly just the notes I word vomited into a Google Doc over the course of several months of just sort of planning. But it's an example of when you have some decent experience DMing, you can kind of make something out of nothing more often than not. But I didn't have nothing. I had some stuff, but it was just a matter of pasting it all together in a cohesive way in the moment.
Yeah, there's actually a guy, he kind of goes by Sly Flourish online.
Yeah.
He talks about a style called the Lazy Dungeon Master, which is, he actually has a book on it. I haven't read the actual book. I've just read some of his articles and blogs and stuff on it. So I can't say I'm an expert on it or anything. But I felt like when I was reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, this really reminds me a lot of things I've been doing, but I haven't been able to put it down anywhere near as clear or sort of organized a way. But he talks about the lazy DM style is you come up with a few cool ideas, and then that's your plan, and you just improvise from one cool idea to the next. And the point is that you can have a really neat session, and without having to prepare very hard, and oftentimes it flows better anyway. Because in a lot of ways, it's easier to just sometimes if you over-plan, you end up with something that's convoluted, and it's really hard to really easy to get lost in it, sort of, and not sure how to get back into what you were planning. But if your plans are just 3 cool scenes, and you sort of vaguely have a few different ideas how you might get there, but leave it pretty open, then it's usually you can just improvise your way from one thing to the next. And how exactly they get into the giant battle in the volcano doesn't really matter that much. Yeah,
well, and a lot of that absolutely, I was using this technique during the stream on Saturday, especially because I knew we had a time crunch. I knew Andrew had to be leaving, and I at least wanted to get to the reveal before he had to leave, which we did right on the nose. But because it's you guys ended up doing a lot more investigation in different places than I anticipated, and and you didn't even go to one of the places that I thought you were gonna go, which I'm a little disappointed in. Gilmore's.
Oh yeah, I think that we had talked about going to Gilmore's, but then we thought that going to the house was more important, and then we were just well, this seems like a way of the adventure.
Yeah, the house was the most important, but I wasn't anticipating you guys going to following the tunnel all the way back to the Cobalt Reserve, So I was kind of improvising what you guys found there, and then I was trying to piece in like the info to get you guys to go into the Bramblewood and go to Gat Shadow, because that was absolutely where you needed to go for the end. Trying to decide what I want his teeth to look like here, because they don't look as nice with the hard lines as they did in the sketch.
So since you're drawing Varuk, James before the stream actually commissioned some art of Varuk.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It looks super amazing, and I was looking up who did it, and on Twitter they are at Sleepy Cilantro.
Yes.
And
she did a great
absolutely
job.
amazing and adorable, and I love it so much. But yeah, she did a really fantastic job.
Yeah, so check her out on Twitter, and I think the artwork is there and also on James's Twitter at James J. Hake.
Yeah. Now James Pumpkin Hake for Halloween.
It's like a pumpkin emoji, or like he just spells out pumpkin.
Pumpkin
It's a pumpkin emoji.
Okay.
Well, it's a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, it doesn't spell out pumpkin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a jack-o'-lantern. Yeah.
Which makes sense. But,
yeah. Someone else did art of his character, I think.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Let me scroll up. I'm just like stalking his page a little bit.
I never, like, if somebody did fan art from my stream, like, that's gonna be weird. I never would have thought I'd run.
No, it was before. It was.
It was before
the stream. Yeah. It was at CXINLU, and it is Varuk and his husband, which is also adorable. I love it.
Yeah.
It was not the one that he sent you, which you subsequently showed me. It was a new one entirely.
Yeah,
but Sleepy Cilantro
did the other one.
Did two. Yeah, Sleepy Cilantro did one of just Varuk swinging his sword and one of Varuk and his husband, which is so cute, and I love it. Sleepy Cilantro's tweet is, "Please keep this dude safe, okay?" It's really cute. But yeah, they're both like really excellent. I love looking at fan art of people's characters, or just like art that they've commissioned and stuff. I've been trying for a long time to get Nick with no compensation, to do one of my characters from our the only character I played in Rise of the Rune Lords. His name is Lana, and I love her. I've been trying to get him to do like an Art Nouveau portrait of her, and I don't want to compensate him because I'm a jerk. I just want him to like do it for me. But no, I'll always pay your artists unless they're your friends, and then you can bully them however you please.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking, should we ever decide to do another charity thing? Maybe one of the prizes we can give away is I'll do a character art commission for free, basically.
That would be really cool.
As one of the prizes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm always down to do stuff like that, especially if it's gonna get people to donate to a good cause. Which again, thank you everybody who donated on Saturday. Like we made $214 for 826 LA, which is amazing. I went and emailed all of our winners from the drawings. So if you won, you should have an email from me in your inbox.
And we gave away a signed copy of the Tal'Dorei campaign guide, which, despite James being on our stream, James did not sign. But if you want it, you can go find him and have him sign it.
Check it out. Go pester him and tell him we sent you.
Yeah.
Exercise for the reader.
Yeah. And but it was signed by the cast of Critical Role, minus an Ashley, plus a Brian, and then we gave away some Mats by Mars
Battle
gift
mats.
cards, I think.
They were coupon
battle
codes
mats,
for,
or
for
like
free
coupons
20
for the battle mats.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was like a gift card coupon code for Mats by Mars for a
Mhm.
free 24-inch by 24-inch battle mat of your choosing, with the grid on it, hex regular grid, or any other their overlays that they offer.
Or just
Awesome,
no grid
awesome.
too, I think.
Or no grid at all,
Yeah.
or just
Yeah.
the textured graphic.
But
yeah,
Gil
they
had
were
some of
generous.
them, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And
You showed
Gil
I
had some of them, and he showed them on stream, and they're really beautiful mats.
yeah, they are really nice.
So you should check them out.
Mhm.
Yeah, go check them out.
You're looking for mats.
matsbymars.com.
Yeah. And they were nice enough. Actually, after the fact, after we had, I don't know if, I think that we had announced it, and it was like the day that they announced it, they contacted us wanting to put in some prizes, and that
Mhm.
was really nice of
Super
them.
cool of them, yeah.
But yeah. But like I said, really beautiful. And if you want to see them, it's the second Tal'Dorei stream video. You can see Gil pull out his mats and show them, and they're really nice.
Yeah. So, working my way through lines here. Farouk's sweet ass trench coat jacket. And then, this is exactly the process for all of the Critical Role recaps. I am doing a little bit more detail than I usually do.
Was it to churn out, 6 of those per recap?
It's been 4 recently because I've been busy.
Yeah.
But well, starting out, we were doing like 8 to 10. But it was a much simpler style. It was less refined, and I wasn't doing any shading. Which, since I started doing the shading, it's really up to the quality, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If I do say so myself.
It probably takes like a million times longer.
Not really. Which I'll actually show you the trick I use here. I'll have to go and double check all my lines before I do it. But I'll show you the trick I use when I do these. But as soon as I finish the lines on Farouk, because I will, I'll actually do the shading. The thing I do is when I go and add the shading on a doodle, I'll do it all one layer. So right now, the lines are individual by characters, so I can turn off. Farouk, and I can turn off Mashafana. That way, if once I'm done with the lines, I want to adjust the composition of the doodle.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
It's really easy. But when I'm done, I'll do the shadows all on the same layer. I'll do the shadows for the whole thing, all on one layer, and it's basically just a black. It's its own layer, and it's a black solid that I turn the opacity to 30%.
Okay.
So I get this nice consistent gray.
Yeah.
And then depending on, I'll play with that number depending on what the scene is. If they're like, I might actually toy with making it actually a higher percentage because there's fire in this.
And you
doodle.
want that contrast, yeah.
I want the contrast, which is the trick I also used in Farouk's portrait. The shading on his portrait is much darker because he's holding fire next to his face.
Yeah.
Which means there's going to be a higher contrast. So if you want to make it look like light is the light source is brighter, you make the shadow darker. You don't actually do anything to the light side of the face. You know, it's.
So next time we do this, we should do a pixel art style, Nick.
Oh, I love pixel art. So no, and if
you're really good at pixel art too.
If we do a Game Jam stream, I'm sure people will see me work on pixel art for literally hours.
Yeah. Well, our Game Jam process is usually like we sit down, brainstorm an idea for a game in a few hours, come up with core mechanics and stuff, and then we start putting it together. I usually am using literal just colored squares until Nick can provide more or less like the sketches that you saw here. Nick will do those sketches as stand-in sprites, and I can start to animate using just the sketches.
Although I don't think I did that for the last year's one, did I?
I don't think you did.
No, I don't think we needed to.
Yeah.
Because that the actual character models were so much more so much simpler than what
Yeah.
we did. The first year we did this local game jam of ours, we did a action platformer side scroller,
Mhm. And
which
that was
had
a really rich sprite sheet we put together for the character.
it was I think it was 30 or 40 sprites.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
for each character. Well, it was the main character, but it was like a high really dynamic, like a running
Yeah.
cycle with a couple explosions, the teleport effect, because we had the teleport mechanic.
Yeah. So just a
That
lot
was the main mechanic of the game. But
Yeah.
but in this one, all it was is you had a hero which kind of slid around the map.
Mhm.
I
It was
think I
top
did do
down,
a
which I
I
think
did a real
simplifies.
simple. I think I did a real simple.
Yeah,
walking
because it's like a
animation.
hero with a little lantern out, and the lantern goes back and forth as they walk, basically.
And then we had a ghost from above, which
Yeah.
had a kind of
Like a whooshy
eerie.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really easy. So in the time it would have taken me to do simple sketches to be sprite stand-ins, I just had the sprites done.
Yeah.
And then I spent the rest of the thing doing really detailed pixel art of the actual haunted house.
You did provide sketches of the floor layout for the haunted house, though.
That I did, yeah. But yeah, I'm really interested in doing a stream. That way people can just watch the process and how we go about doing stuff, and then if they want to marathon through it with us, or just
I imagine if people watch it, they'll be
in and
tune in for a bit, tune back out, maybe put it on in the background or something. It'd take a special type of person to just watch us make a game.
Yeah. And then I imagine if we were taking it and putting it to YouTube like we inevitably will, we can actually do time lapse of the times where we're not actually doing anything.
That's true.
Wouldn't be too hard to do.
What I imagine is we could sort of rope Fiona into asking us questions or something and annoying us.
Yeah.
Viewers
Just get out of here.
I see lots of questions.
Yeah.
So so I guess this is one of the things you also get when you watch Trainwreck is us just chilling and planning for future content. Yeah, I guess the things we could do is we could almost do scheduled check-ins, so we at every hour on the hour we'll do a recap and we'll talk about what we're doing for anybody who's on, so that way people know if they can always tune in at these times to actually catch more than us just sitting and doing.
Yeah, so I guess I'll say if anybody watching this, either streaming right now or on YouTube later or something, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, drop a comment. If it sounds like the worst thing you've ever heard, you're probably correct.
That doesn't mean we're not going to do it.
Well, yeah, it's going to happen. But
yeah, so let us
probably
know.
going to be more or less unwatchable. But that's the beauty of the internet.
We're
People will watch some pretty bad shit.
This is how memes are started.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if Dat Boy can go as far as he did, anything can.
I have nothing to say in response to that.
Sometimes the only way to win is to not play at all.
Truth. Alright, there's something funky going on with the lines up here. Had a little too much overlap, so go back to my eraser. Alrighty. I think we're pretty good. This line is a little weird. Fix that.
Oh, I love it so much.
That way it doesn't look like a skinny ass leg. Make sure I'm not missing any lines, because that's the worst thing when I turn off the sketch and then suddenly they're like, oh, this whole half of this arm is not there because I didn't fucking draw it. Yeah, that doesn't connect. He's back a little bit here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the outline of both of these characters and just make sure that all the lines are connected. Because I'm going to use my magic wand tool to select all of the negative space around the figures.
I see.
Then expand that so that the edge of the selected area is actually hiding behind the lines that I drew. Because these lines, I have, this is actually a 10 pixel wide brush.
Okay.
The canvas I'm using is pretty large. It's 30 inches wide.
Okay.
And so what I can do is then I can expand my selected area so that the edge of whatever I'm doing, whether it be a background, which I like to do for the critical recaps to really make them stand out against the other, like not as epic scenes.
Yeah.
I'll drop a background in there. So I'll use the same technique to fill the background without filling the character in.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a break right there. Fix that. Sometimes if it's real thin, I'll give it a little extra there just in case, because you never know.
Yeah.
If it's gonna. Yeah, there's a break. Just go touch it up, and I think I already did all the way around here. Okay. So now I'm gonna hop back over to Masha's layer, and I'm gonna do the same thing, which I don't think I was paying attention when I did it originally. So I think there's gonna be a lot more things I gotta fix over here. So first, tighten that up. And then like right there, and then I gotta do in here too, because this will all be negative space as well. See?
Yeah.
The leg just missing.
I like her, like, black nail.
Lion claw.
Yeah.
So then I know the fire is gonna need touched up.
So Tom, what was the process that you had for like making the stream, like a stream that works?
Not a good one.
Like everything we do, we just kind of do it.
Kind of improvise. No, I mean, so I'm using open broadcast software, which I like because I kind of like its simplicity and just like it just kind of like makes sense to me. Other people seem to much prefer other things, but I kind of like OBS. So basically, I mean, for each thing, it's like you set up a scene and you bring in like different sources. So we were using Skype, which has a whole host of issues, but we haven't quite found anything that's better. And then basically, so I have like a Skype window open. It's actually I'm using the browser version because it seems to work a little better. And so like each person's little cutout view is really just the same window capture, just like cropped differently, put different places on the screen, and then pushed behind the overlay that Nick put together. And then getting it right is a real pain in the butt because I don't have any way to control really how Skype decides to drop people in. So I kind of have to just go off what Skype does, and then if people leave, I have to like kind of scramble to fix it. So people out there have done this and have better ways to do it. Please let me know. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what to do.
Nick and I go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I guess that Google Hangouts used to have like an API that would let you control a lot of this stuff programmatically, but apparently they retired that API, so rip.
Because of course they did.
Yeah.
Nick and I at Gen Con, we went to watch Maze Arcana, actually, which is
Fiona, you're cutting out a little bit.
Satine Phoenix and Rudy Rutenberg, and they also have... Okay. Hello?
I think you're back now. Kinda.
You were cutting out pretty hard.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see myself cutting out on the Skype screen.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It seems to have stabilized now. So you're talking about Maze Arcana.
Yeah, we went to see Maze Arcana with various people, Satine Phoenix, Amy Vorpal, Amy Dallin, Rudy Rutenberg at Gen Con. And right after that, they had a session with Black Magic. It's called, right, Nick?
Yeah, Black Magic Design.
Black Magic Design.
A lot of the technology that Geek and Sundry uses for Critical Role and their other shows.
They also used it on Maze Arcana, which is why they kind of had that session. But it was shortly after the Maze Arcana stream. It was after they had basically like torn down their set, and it was really interesting what they were discussing. But what's interesting about Black Magic too is that their stuff is still expensive. Don't get me wrong; you're going into the hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars for their equipment, but they do it at a much cheaper cost than a lot of other like equipment manufacturers, basically. And the stuff that they make is used by professional people like Geek and Sundry, and it's been used in some movies and stuff too to make movies. And then they also had Sirenscape, which was used during our stream. So when you stream, you can't use like copyrighted music and stuff like that, which is why you get like the generic electronica before our stream. And Sirenscape is all royalty-free music that you can use during your home games, during your streams, YouTube videos, stuff like that, and it's pretty good. I think that our levels were a bit messy with it.
We're working on it.
It usually sounds better than that. We're working on it. That was us, not them. Sirenscape is awesome.
So
again, it's all free. I think that you can get like a premium version, but there's a free version too.
Yeah. So the free version has like a bunch of sample sound packs and stuff that's pretty cool. And then you can buy just buy just the sound packs that you want. Which is what I did, or you can pay. I think it's a $20 a month subscription for literally their entire thing. Oh, wow. And anything new comes out, you have it. And and even if you cancel it, you still have what you got during your subscription. Yeah,
okay. I believe so. I think so. 99% sure.
But yeah. So but what we had to do, since there's no way, like for me as the DM controlling the music, there's no way to easily broadcast that through Skype so the other players can hear it. And so Tom, who was on his end of Skype broadcasting out to you guys, could, so that all of that would work. So what I ended up having to do was, and I guess this is like a known issue that people have when they're just playing remote games, is download a freeware program called Voicemeeter, which allows me to control different levels, different audio, set different audio inputs and outputs and that sort of thing. Download a virtual audio cable to where I can sell Voicemeeter to, and I had to like set my like default like recording and speaker like settings for like Voicemeeter and stuff, and do this whole thing so that Skype thought that the audio coming from Sirenscape and the audio coming from my microphone was the same feed, and sent that out through Skype. It was a whole thing. Yeah. and we were figuring it out it out like day of. So,
and Skype likes to sort of like filter out what it feels as background noise.
Right. So I think all things considered, it wasn't that bad. But then the other problem is like I was also the one who had to control the audio level.
Yeah.
And I was busy. During the combat, I know the audio got a little loud, so I adjusted it as soon as that was made aware.
I had the
I was
kind
made
of voice
aware
of God
of that.
in there.
Yeah, which is good. And then even after the dragon got killed, James typed in the Skype thread, they're like, hey, can we like turn off the dragon roars because the dragon's dead now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
like in Sirenscape, everything is on its own thing, so I can like continue the same like track and the same thing and just turn off the dragon noises, which is what I did.
Yeah.
But like I was so busy like running the combat, I didn't even think of it. So, but I guess Sirenscape is working on a new feature of theirs that is a browser-based feature that they're just in the process of testing now, where you can sync up a browser, like your Sirenscape app will broadcast out to like a URL or something to that effect. They haven't really explained it yet, but it's like it'll broadcast out to a URL so you can have all of your players go to that URL in their browser, and it'll update the music from your Sirenscape as you do with actually surprising little latency, which is really cool. And that would make like our thing, like streaming, perfect because Tom just pulls that, captures the audio,
up, just send it out,
and then you can control the volume on it, so I don't have to.
Exactly. So I think that'll be a truly killer feature, I think.
So yeah, because Sirenscape is amazing. Like they talk about it on Critical Role all the time. And I didn't really play around with it until leading up to this stream, and it is actually really, really cool. All the sound packs are awesome, immersive sounds, with like the pre-made like moods and customizations built into them. It's really cool.
Yeah, and if you do want to stream, if you're trying to buy music, it's much more expensive to, buy it or have someone create it and then like having to pay them royalties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that session too that we went to was how to basically make an affordable stream. But it was super interesting.
Well, it was actually a Gen Con where we made the decision to like actually like do the Tal'Dorei Day stream, because we knew Tal'Dorei Day was coming up, and we knew we had an extra copy of the Tal'Dorei campaign guide we wanted to do something cool with. So we were thinking, hey, we just heard about all this cool stuff about streaming. Why not try and do a charity stream together? So we set lofty goals and then try and figure out how to make them.
Yeah.
So, but that's part of the reason this show exists now. Yeah. So welcome.
This sort of was born as like
because we want to start streaming.
Just like crash test for Tal'Dorei Day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be our crash test. Stream. It's going to be our crash test for a lot of things.
Yeah. For a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Like, hey, we have a cool idea. Well, let's do it on Trainwreck first.
Yep.
See if it
if it works.
Yep.
And also, let's see if people like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us if you like stuff or if you hate it or if you hate us. Don't tell us if you hate us. We can't handle it.
Tell us if you hate us.
Yeah, please tell us. That is the most productive use of your time on the internet, is telling other people on the internet that you hate them. Because, like, what even is Twitter for if you can't just, like...
Well, no, if people are taking time out of their day to tell us that they hate us, I think that means we've made it on the internet.
Wow.
I have gotten some hate on the internet.
Yeah, I think Fiona made it.
Yeah, I did too recently, actually.
Oh,
you did. Someone called you the C word on Reddit.
Yep.
What did you do?
Well, I just posted the critical recap on the subreddit like I do every week. And I was told that that my art sucks, and so do I.
Oh, okay. I mean, they're not wrong.
It was,
but it's still kind of mean.
No.
It was more vulgar than that, but
I was TLDR.
You told me, and it made me laugh pretty hard.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know that we
want to. It was like such an unoriginal troll too. It was like I was almost surprised they didn't tell me to kill myself. Like,
yeah.
It was like so unoriginal in that regard. Like, but yeah, no, that happens for whatever reason. The Critical Role fan community has a way of attracting people who are just going out of their way to troll.
That's just any group that's large enough will have people like that. It's just how it's
like, hey, this group of people really likes the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any sufficiently large group will have shitheads.
Right. And so many, critters are really, really cool people. I think that like 99.9999% of people that I've like interacted with in some way in the Critical Role community have been like just nice, cool people. But
but sometimes all
I
it
mean,
takes is
it's
one
just like
shithead to just. Like that's the thing. Like if you just like meet 100 people and 99 of them are nice and chill, and one of them is horrible.
Mhm.
Like the thing you remember is the one person who's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like.
But
an unfortunate sort of fact of things.
There's how I first became acquainted with Geek and Sundry was I really loved Felicia Day growing up, like on Buffy and Dr. Horrible's, but she had a show called The Guild, which was Geek and Sundry's basically like original show, and in the last season, I think it's the 5th or 6th season, I don't remember, but last season, she ends up working for a game company who makes the game, that's what they call it on the show, it's basically World of Warcraft, and she basically has to convince the creator of the game to create content despite people not liking it sometimes, and he has this and what she does is she papers his windows so that he can't see the angry fans outside. She papers them with nice comments, but then all the while he has a spreadsheet of everyone who's ever said something mean to him on the internet, and that's what it feels like. I remember watching it being 17, maybe I think I was 20 at the time, but I remember watching it thinking that it just seems so heavy-handed, but then starting Derailed and getting your first hate on the internet and stuff, I'm just wow, this is spot on. Maybe just for me, but I was this is what it feels like. Gosh, this was pretty good.
they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, and that's Felicia Day, who's one of many women who has been harassed on the internet for being on the internet, I guess. I don't know what the problem is, but
how dare she?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially being a content creator on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll get your fair share.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, most people have been so, nice and cool. It's just that it sticks out in your mind, everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
I just hate you.
The Critical Role fan community has been truly unlike any other that I've been a part of.
Oh yeah, they've been very nice.
And I think it's just a nature of the show itself and the cast involved who are so nice, genuine people that they have a way of attracting similar people and inspiring the same kind of behavior.
Plus, I mean, you have good taste if you like Critical Role, so there's that.
So,
I felt the most betrayed by my fandom. I had written something about the DCEU, and it was right before Wonder Woman came out. And for the story to make sense, I super love DC, and unpopular opinion, I really, really loved Batman versus Superman. I know everyone hated it, but I really enjoyed it. And so, when they were oh, we're going to change stuff, I was worried that they were going to change stuff to be more like Marvel, which I tend to not like as much. And I wrote a post about that. But I think that whatever I made the title of it, it was kind of misleading, I guess. So a bunch of people who I assumed did not read it, who had in their bios and their Twitter handles and stuff I love the DCU, Marvel sucks, and they just went to town on them on Twitter, telling me I was dumb. And my favorite was I think that their handle or name or whatever was Bruce Wayne, and it just said "Stop this kind of discourse," and I'm wow. Batman told me to stop this kind of discourse. And it was funny because if they would have read it, I was arguing what they wanted to hear, but it's just the title just turned them off that much.
No, I think the title was asking if the DCU was trying to make Justice League.
It's is the DCU trying to become more like the MCU or something like that? And the whole point was that I hoped it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was right after they announced that Joss Whedon had taken over Batgirl, and I'm ooh, he did Avengers, which was just okay, So. So yeah.
That's my biggest...
But then people are so nice.
Yeah. That's my biggest.
People are nice most of the time. I will say.
That's my biggest internet pet peeve is just people who respond to a headline without even making an attempt to read the article. Like I think
understand it.
Yeah. Well, so there's this one like article I saw once where it was like it was a while ago. It was something like maybe halfway through the article, they just put like, by the way, if you read this far, just use the word banana in your comment on the article. And the comment, and it was on something like controversial, right? So the comments, it was like 3 pages of comments before someone said banana.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. There was also a study with like opening links on Facebook versus sharing and like liking and commenting, and it was disproportionate the number of people who would like share or comment or whatever, or like react. I guess it's not just liking anymore, it's reacting versus like actually opening the link.
Yeah. Like
just like based on a headline.
Like probably don't share it if you haven't read it. Probably don't leave a comment if you haven't read it.
No, but that takes effort.
Yeah. And that's like what's interesting too, because like most people don't mind like constructive criticism on their work or whatever. It was actually back when we were still like a board games company. Like I did genuinely get some constructive criticism on like my writing style and stuff like that. And I think that it made me a better writer, but it was just like a lot of times it's just not constructive and like not even really worth reading.
Like, they literally can't offer anything constructive if they haven't read the article. Like, if they're just getting angry at a headline. Like,
in that case, they just haven't read the article. I'm just talking about.
Yeah.
We had some of that. We had some of that with your critical linguistics post, the "Sorry, I'm an asshole" post. People who made assumptions based on the title or based on just your opening like statement, because that was a long post.
Yeah.
And
it was.
Or someone was even saying, and they admitted
paper I wrote,
to
I think, is
skipping.
20 pages long.
Yeah. They admitted to skipping to the conclusion and then saying they disagreed with it.
Yeah. And like here's a pro tip if anyone is like listening to this or watching this. Like headlines are routinely misleading by design. Cuz like in the same way like a title of anything is like headlines are routinely like supposed to surprise you or interest you, and then you read, and then you find out, it's not quite what I expected, right? That's like, called making it interesting. So like, going off just the headline is like, dumb.
Yeah. And with that post in particular, I think that I was genuinely getting people who like didn't get it.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
It was like I tried to explain as best I could the methods I was using, but like this was something I studied sociolinguistics in graduate school, so it was like a little bit higher level. Like you did have to know about that subject matter, and I think that was most of the people who like said that they didn't like it, like didn't understand sociolinguistics or like didn't make an attempt to. Like someone at some point said that like ritual apology is like a term that doesn't actually mean anything. I'm like, well, it does mean something. It's just like it's just like a a jargon, like a lot of things.
But the thing is, like, I don't think these are things that are like super technical though. Like it's just like it's not like they need to have.
Well, that was the problem with like just skipping to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Well, like if like a linguist were to do that, it would be one thing. But if someone who doesn't really know about sociolinguistics were to do that, it sounds like what I'm saying is nonsense.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who didn't get in, like did that, and they didn't realize that like you weren't making up this out of nowhere. You were basing a lot of your conclusions off of other pretty like well-known studies. On these things. Yeah.
A lot of it was Deborah Tannen, who I love very much, who is a very prominent linguist, a sociolinguist specifically, who wrote a really good book called Talking 9 to 5 about mixed gender group interactions. And she talked about specifically in the workplace, but I took some of that and tried to apply it to critical role. A lot of people didn't like that I referred to swearing as like a masculine linguistic trait, and that's not to say that men are the only ones who use that, but in literature it is referred to as a masculine linguistic trait. And why I actually do this work is because as I was learning about it, through undergrad and grad school, I'm like, I feel like this doesn't really, this doesn't hit as hard, like, this doesn't seem like how I interact with people or how my friends interact with people, which is why I do look at, masculine and feminine linguistic traits in groups like that, especially with swearing and apology, which I've written a couple of other papers about throughout grad school, because I think it's interesting and I think it's kind of like a misnomer.
Yeah.
And a lot of this research is like, maybe like 10, 15 years old. So that could change with different generations.
Yeah.
But
I do think some of it's generational.
Yeah.
I mean, I also think that I've
yeah,
read,
and that's my point.
yeah. Like, I've read that it's often that women can sort of be taken more seriously by swearing more. Sometimes, which I mean is unfortunate. Like, it takes that, but also seems like it might be like a strategy that's adopted sometimes.
Yeah, and there was this really interesting study by Bischultz, I think. It's called I forget what it's called, but it looks at a group of like nerd girls at a high school. So it's taking these different like sociological cliques that kind of occurred at the high school, looking at how the nerd girls interact with each other, and what that says, like how these linguistic rules define them. And something that I found was interesting, because I took that study because I was like, okay, this is a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. This is like one of the nerdiest things that you can do. But what I actually found was that Laura and Marisha specifically were leaning more towards like what Bischultz would have defined as like a burnout girl way of speaking, where they were like, swearing a lot. They were causing a lot of damage and fights and stuff like that. Like, they were talking a lot about, violence, which is more typical of like burnout girls. So how it was defined is that like jocks are like these kind of like overachievers, like very standard forms of speaking, very like new slangs and stuff like that. And burnouts were kind of more likely to swear, maybe use like non-standard forms in terms of like accent and stuff like that. And then so they were seen as kind of opposites of each other, but then nerd girls who would use very technical, formal forms in a lot of ways would be kind of like the opposite of both. So there were these three different groups that were always at odds with each other. So I assumed that they would fall more into like the nerd girl type of thing. And they do use some like, more formal language. They use a lot of references on Critical Role, which is something that was pointed out. But yeah, they fell more into the burnout side of it, which I find interesting.
Mm-hmm. It also just seems like an interesting way of like classifying, you know what I mean? Like something that I don't think people would have like thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, in addition to, how people dress and who they hang out with, like how they talk is usually a pretty good indicator of like where they sort themselves. And then too, you have to look at this group, they probably change how they talk with other people, because that's just like what people do, is they'll change their linguistic forms depending on which group that they're with. But that's also why I decided to choose Critical Role, because there's hundreds of hours of footage of this like same group of 7 people talking to each other, which is like, a linguist's wet dream. And then, and taking some factors. That was another thing that I think was a little bit misunderstood about that post. Like, I was not like manipulating anything. I was just like taking a few factors I noticed that they were using in interesting ways and trying to figure out like how they were using it, and maybe like speculating as to why that was.
The other interesting thing that, and I know some people in the comments kind of brought it up, was examining their like linguistic usage, I guess, between themselves, out of character and in character. Would be an interesting analysis, I think.
Yeah, And that was something that I looked at it when I was looking at the transcripts. What Tom did in his program was he numbered the instances of like swearing and apology, and then said what line in the transcripts on which those occurred. And some of them, just looking at the transcripts, it's kind of hard to tell. And sometimes even in like watching it, it's also kind of hard to tell because they'll like talk in character when doing like clearly out of character things.
Yeah.
So that line gets blurred a little bit, which is why I didn't like focus on it as much. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely would take a little bit of a finer comb.
Yeah.
But but I mean, it'd be really cool if you could find a way to sort that data. Because
that would be a lot more
actors,
going through it by hand. Yeah.
Right. That would be extremely difficult to do programmatically.
Right.
That would be like if you wanted to do your thesis on it, like your master's thesis. That's what you would do.
Well, I'm not doing a master's thesis anytime soon. I can promise you that.
Yeah. I already finished graduate school. I'm not going back.
All right.
I'm just kidding. I loved graduate school. It was great.
I think this is pretty much good shading wise.
Yeah. I'm going to run away again super fast.
So, last thing I'm going to do. I can make this work. Power of layer styles.
Oh, nice.
I like that, but I want to rewrite it.
You ran out of space.
Yep. This happens doing the Critical Role doodles all the time too.
Gotcha. You've been dogged.
Oh no, I've been dogged. Oh yeah, I see it in the chat or in the stream. Shoot. Just his eye.
See, now I can just switch back and dog you whenever I want.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's like the new like punishment closet, like if you're acting up.
Yeah.
Just
Behave on stream.
Get dogged.
Alright, I think that's done.
Oh, I love it so much. That's adorable. Did we just become best friends? Hashtag Trainwreck Live. Oh, you just fit that in.
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
That's so cute. I may very well like print
So
that out.
I'm gonna do something
put it
I should
somewhere.
have done a long time ago, and it's kind of hilarious it to become an issue. Control
Save.
S.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
That would have been hilarious. I would have laughed so hard.
That'd been like, let's dig back through the stream and find the best screen cap we can get.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, that's it.
In all its glory.
So I kind of like the format of the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about bullshit.
I
talk
do
about
too.
something.
Yeah. We got
Yeah.
to some interesting topics.
Uh-huh.
I thought we were going to just like talk about the stream, but it was all tangentially related, basically.
Yeah, no, there was a very definitive flow, which I kind of had a feeling was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And you made an art,
I did make an art. Well, I'm actually going to make an adjustment.
and I think we have like at least one person still watching.
Yeah, I looked and it said 4, so I
Yeah.
think that's one person. So hi,
I think,
one person.
I think I might be 2. I might have 2.
Oh,
Then
Oh,
it might be
maybe it's
like
just us then.
Oh no, I don't have one
Yay.
anymore. So
Ah.
yeah, so I just have
Oh,
the
so
one
is that
from,
2? Okay, so one person's watching.
Yeah, because I
Hi,
have it
one
open.
person.
you. Yes, you. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm Hope you liked it. Got Mishafina and Varuk becoming best friends
Mhm.
with their flame weapons.
Yes. All right, and then
After the stream, we were all interacting on Twitter, and James said that we were BFFs forever.
yes. So that's it. I think that's a good train wreck episode then.
Yeah.
So
I think
anyway,
so, yeah.
for those one person watching right now, you can check us out at projectderailed.com for more nerdy bullshit. Thursdays we'll have the Critical Role recap of the final episode of Vox Machina Story, and then we'll have some fun stuff coming up in the weeks after that. You can check out the VODs of our past Trainwreck episodes, or the VOD for the Tal'Dorei Day stream here on Twitch, or coming soon to YouTube. We have a couple of our past Trainwreck episodes already up on YouTube. Go check it out there. Just Project Derailed. And then follow us on Twitter at Project Derailed. And if you like this, hopefully we'll do it more. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was really fun. We got a cool thing at the end. I think that everyone has a new appreciation for how you do the doodles.
I
Yeah.
do
For
4
Critical Role
every week.
recap.
Every week.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least
And, like-
4. Yes.
Yeah. At Gen Con, Andrew and Nick and I all kind of like had a little support group moment where we're like, we have to watch the show so many times before we can put out our content.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
Andrew
watched the
beats both
episode
of us,
like
though.
2
He watches it like 10 times.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
long
so-
show to watch 10 times. That's a full-time job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Andrew is a beast.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
And we will see
See
you
you
next
next time.
week.
Bye.